On the road, everybody. Welcome to D-Win. First off, this is a discussion amongst dealers, general managers, service managers, marketing managers. We want a lot of interaction, a lot of Q&A. I posted something earlier today because it's easy to sit there and say, do you want to increase your paid search, your Facebook, your display advertising 10, 20, 30%? Everybody wants to do that for the obvious reasons, right? Well, we'll increase traffic, we increase sales, profits. That's just the surface level
Those
stuff.
are all good things, right, Scott?
They're all good, but
Okay.
it's the real question is, how does it impact you? It impacts you much greater than that because it opens up new possibilities that your businesses or your companies can't do now.
The group is putting out content knowing that, listen, the sale might not come today within the next hour, but if I continue to keep my brand front and center, when those people become in market, hopefully, most likely, we're top of mind. We're top in the consideration set.
We have dealership staff that actually go out and they start their own TikToks and they want to do it themselves. And we fully support that, of course. We encourage it. And then when I reach out to a general manager, general sales manager, or sales staff themselves, a lot of them are very optimistic and they want to provide us that content. We have email setups and then they could submit their own content so that we could use for marketing purposes. And then we also incorporate those in our Facebook posts, our Google My Business listing posts, and basically anywhere that we see fit.
So we have to really be careful to make sure that people understand that the quote unquote KPIs that we're measuring are not always going to translate into immediate sales or unit volume.
My man.
There he is. Welcome,
What's happening?
everyone. Everything is good. How you doing?
Any better? I'd be Scott Joseph sitting in Louisville.
Oh,
A
welcome.
stone's throw from the Louisville Thoroughbred Society.
I'll be there tonight.
That's good. Rub it in. I like that. Rub it in.
I'll FaceTime you. I'll let you say.
Please. Yeah, that was great yesterday.
I'm taking 5 potential new members there tonight.
Nice. You might get the lead recruiter award over there at LTS.
Well, I have become, for the Louisville Thoroughbred Society, which is Jamil Zabaneh has become for J&L Marketing. You know?
I love it. I think the pay is better at J&L.
It is. Well, I invested in the Louisville in the LTS yesterday.
Did you? Really good.
Oh yeah, I'm partner now.
Nice.
I'm excited about it.
Non-equity though. Non-equity, right?
No, I have share.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right, we'll talk about that post-mortem here.
So now I got to get more members in there, right? I should have been given equity for the amount of people I've hit.
Although when I signed up, I think they took equity away.
They did.
We're gonna penalize the behaviors we don't want to duplicate, Scott. Sorry.
Yeah, I want to welcome everyone to another show of D-Win, Dealership Winning Opportunity Network, or Winning
Information
Network. I'm so used to saying the word opportunity, you know, because that's what
I'll take it.
But great show today. I'm going to let you introduce the guests. I'm going to bring them up on stage. All right. Is there anything more important than a website if you're a dealership in today's marketplace?
I think there is. I think today's subject matter.
Don't throw in people. All right. I'm talking about tools and
no. Hold on. I'm going digital, and I'm going in the thread of what we're going to talk about today. The subject matter at hand today. We're going to talk with some very, very smart people, some people that are making it happen. A young lady who is tearing it up right now. I'm excited to bring her on stage today. I'm just getting a call from your ex-wife, Scott. I'm sorry. And that is the truth. Anyhow, Lyman thinks about things much differently. You know, the thing I think that is as important, if not more important, is how you show up on the mobile platform these days. And so I'm excited to talk about that today with Lyman Savvy.
Yeah, mine too. You want to bring them up?
Let's do it.
All right. Everybody up in here.
There she is.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
What's up, Lyman?
What's up?
Flores, Eric, how you doing, guys?
Hey, how are you?
Outstanding. You know what I love? Eric Barbosa, I could tell already, he's flying the flag no matter where he's going. He is representing. The colors are waving in the wind. It's good stuff.
That's right.
So let me go through a couple of quick introductions here so we can kick things off, because I want to zip the lips and take some notes today. I've had the good fortune of being introduced to Lyman. Previously, we spent some time on the phone, and you walked me through your platform. I was very impressed. I immediately reached out to Scott, and we put this together. But Lyman Savvy is the founder and CEO of 321 Ignition. She's got a very rich history in marketing and certainly on the digital side of the business as well. She's worked with Microsoft in the past. She was actually, if I'm not mistaken, you were the Office 365 Global B2B paid media senior VP. Is that correct?
So I was in charge of paid media for both the direct business for Office 365 and as well as enterprise. So basically, how do we acquire customers directly online?
So you kind of had a big job.
What was that?
Yeah, so you're kind of a big deal, Lyman. You're kind of a big deal.
Okay, deal, average deal. Yes.
No. Don't downplay it. Don't downplay it. I'm gonna pump you up here. She's a big deal, and she's smart, and she's gonna share with us some insights today in terms of how she looked at the digital piece of automotive retailing as we move forward in marketing. And then we're going to talk with Eric Barbosa, managing partner at Henson Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram and Chevrolet Buick GMC. You are in Madisonville, Texas. Is that correct, Eric?
Yeah, that's right. Out here in Texas.
All right. Yeah. Big Texas, baby. Love it. Great state of Texas. About halfway in between Dallas and Houston. So a great spot. You get to play both sides in the middle. I think that's outstanding. And I'm going to pronounce it the right way. Flores Chamat?
Correct.
Holy cow, I got that right the first time, buddy.
It's like in the lottery.
And well, here's the deal. I hit the lottery because when I connected to you on LinkedIn today, I said, holy crap, we had 660 mutual connections. Okay. As a matter of fact, between you and Eric and Lyman, we had over 1,000 mutual connections, which I love. That's what drives the change and innovation in our businesses, when people are working together and have a chance to get connected and stay connected. But he's the executive general manager at Exclusive Motor Cars. He's got a rich history in imports for sure, Hyundai, Mazda, Toyota. And so I'm excited to talk to you guys today. SJ, what do you say?
Well, I was going to say, Flores, what's most impressive about the 660 shared connections is that you must have saved a fortune, because yours came organically. Sandy had to buy his.
Lyman, I'm counting on you to defend me today, okay?
I will try, but you're giving him so much material.
So Scott, why don't you kick off the question here? I mean, Lyman has built out an amazing platform at 321 Ignition, and the thing that I like the most, and the reason why I reached out to you after taking a look at her platform, is because she flipped the model. Instead of taking a look at dealer websites from the computer screen perspective and how customers interact on the computer screen, Lyman got smart and said, wait a second, more people are going to the mobile platforms first these days, and probably more often. So I don't want to take your thunder away, Lyman, but she has designed and engineered her platform with that in mind. So Lyman, you want to talk a little bit about what really was your inspiration for starting 321 Ignition?
Yeah, so my inspiration is, I've been doing marketing for 18 plus years. And the reason why companies would always hire me is because my core competence, I'm a subject matter expert. How do I generate a revenue for businesses? And that revenue is whether I'm generating a lead and passing it to a salesperson to close, or whether I'm actually, generating sales directly online, which is like what now automotive is going through, the whole digital transformation, digital retailing. And so, of course, ultimately what I care about is conversions. That's the only thing I care about. I don't care about any other soft metrics about clicks and views. Those are all great indicators, but it doesn't really matter. I always say, analysis paralysis. Sometimes there's such thing as too much data, and it's just like you're almost paralyzed with that data. So ultimately what I care about is sales. And so what inspired me is like when I was helping my friend who was in automotive, and I had nothing to do with automotive. I've never sold a car in my life, never worked at a dealership. And so
but you knew what a car was, Lyman, right?
I knew what?
You knew what a car was. That's all you needed to know.
Oh, yeah, totally.
That's a start.
And so when I was trying to help her, get more sales, I realized the website providers that she was using in agencies, didn't have proper tracking in place. So they didn't have the right messaging in place. They didn't have the right user experience in place. There was so much that was missing. And like what you mentioned earlier, I worked at Microsoft. I was in charge of $35 million paid media budget. How do I optimize that budget? How do I generate more leads? How do I generate more sales? And so I started doing research. And at first I thought that maybe it's just she's not using the right providers. Maybe she's just trying to save money and, cutting corners. And the more and more research I did, I'm like, actually, no, it's a big problem in automotive. And then I decided to do it myself. Here I am.
I like that. So you saw a problem that you knew you could fix, and that was the impetus for getting started. And by the way, that's savvy relative experience, no pun intended, for the audience. When you see an area of opportunity where you can actually fill a need effectively, best way to get started is to just get started. Talk a little bit about like early in the process. What were the things that you were thinking about in terms of what you wanted to change about the experience for customers on a mobile platform?
Yes. One of the things I always talk about is customer experience is a business competitive advantage, and it's a sustainable business competitive advantage. Like if you think about a traditional competitive advantage models, you think about, price leadership, you think about product innovation. But price leadership, you can't always be the cheapest product. Like nobody can actually sustain competitive advantage that way. At a certain point, you erode your profit margins, and go ahead.
I was going to say, only one person wins when you're the cheapest, because you don't want to be in second place.
Yes.
Well, and I would argue, and I think you guys might agree, that at times when you hit rock bottom, nobody's winning, because the product ends up getting deteriorated, the customer experience is deteriorated, and so ultimately the customer loses in the end as well.
Well, Sandy, I'd rather be the lowest price, so at least my market share is better than the second lowest price, where the marketplace is a lot less and I still have low margins. So,
it's funny, Vlasic Pickles thought the same thing with Walmart, and it almost put them out of business.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
so sorry to interrupt, Yolanda.
With price leadership, you're right. There's only one person that wins, and nobody else wins. And nor does anybody want to be working really hard and making really small profit margins. We always talk about how do we increase profit margins. And also, the second traditional competitive advantage is product innovation. But at a certain point, you can't continue to really, innovate. At a certain point, just one more feature is just not enough for somebody to switch. So when you really think about a competitive advantage, sustainable competitive advantage, it's the customer experience. Like I always talk about Zoom, for example. Zoom almost became a verb overnight during pandemic. And when I did my research, Zoom was actually only invented in 2011 versus RingCentral and all those other companies have been around way before Zoom was around. And yet Zoom is a verb. Why? When I ask people, why does Zoom become a verb? They're like, because it's just easy. Same thing with Amazon. Amazon started off selling books, the same books that Barnes and Nobles were selling. And there's nothing unique about Amazon except the customer experience. And people are willing to spend more money if you help make their life easier. And so that's the main thing that I really focused on is how do I give dealerships competitive advantage by offering a best experience, which is a sustainable competitive advantage. They don't have to, be the cheapest product, or they don't have to, lose money, and but actually winning because they're just made it easy for somebody to do business with them.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question: when did you start this again? It
was January 2019.
All right. So that's a good time. So you've got the year before COVID.
Yeah.
When you started. Yeah. Then you got COVID. And now you got this year where we're coming out of it and everyone's feeling pretty good about themselves, right?
Yeah.
So I want to skip last year. All right. And we'll come back to it. Mm-hmm. But how does right now, how is it either different or similar to what you experienced when you entered the market in 2019? Because COVID obviously impacted this in some way, good, bad. So what are the differences and similarities in terms of how things are today in terms of what you're doing with the website for dealers versus when you started?
In terms of what we're doing, actually hasn't changed. Our mission has been always right on, and we're kind of, I guess, ahead of the curve, because nobody could have foreseen the pandemic happening. But what happened once the pandemic happened is dealership actually started shifting their mindset of how they're doing business. Like I remember my very first conversation with one of the dealerships. I'm sitting there talking to the director of marketing, and I'm telling him about how he needs to improve his customer experience on a website so he could get more leads and sales. And his comment to me was, Lyman, I don't want people to be spending time on my website. I just want them to come to my showroom. So I actually like that my website is so horrible because the more people are coming to my showroom. But when the pandemic happened, I'm like, okay, oh my God, now your website is your showroom. So, what changed is the dealerships actually do value and appreciate and care a lot about the website experience. And I always talk about, digital retailing. Like digital retailing is like a hot girl at a new high school. Everybody, talks about her. But digital retailing is just a checkout tool. It's just, buy now. And, I have dealerships, who use digital retailing. Actually, Flores has digital retailing in his website as well. And one of my other dealerships, remember one of my very early case studies was they were using one of our competitors for a website, and they had a car now as a digital retailing tool. And when they switched to us, the only thing they changed is the website. They didn't change digital retail experience. The only thing they changed is the website. And Payment, the other owner, he actually told me they got more digital retailing completions in the first 9 days with us than in 90 days with the previous website provider. So by improving the customer experience, you actually are getting more people to transact online, not only because it's easier, but you also gain their trust. You gain consumers' trust. Like, who's going to buy a car online if your website looks hard to navigate? Like, well, this doesn't look like a legitimate company.
Nobody has the patience. Nobody has the patience if it's hard to navigate. It's one and done.
Well, for me in auto, it's not about, is it a legitimate business? I think that definitely applies to other verticals, because I think every dealer's got a website that at least looks legitimate. The biggest issue, though, is the experience and the navigation. Am I getting the information I want quickly and easily? Is it effortless? And the reality is there are too many dealers out there willing to give and be very transparent. So if you're not that, and your website's difficult to navigate, why would I ever stay there? I can just go to the next one down the street and look at that website and get all the information I need and want easily. So somebody's going to give it. So if you're not going to give it, don't expect. And most of it, what is it? 92% of all traffic starts online, right? And I think it's 92%. I might have that number wrong, but 92%
Facebook, right?
What is it?
92% of social media, so Facebook and Instagram, is all mobile.
Yeah, so you're looking. Everything starts there. So the showroom has changed. I don't need to drive all over town and spend a week trying to figure out what I want. I can do it from my couch. I'm not going to say it, but Sandy does it from his couch in his underwear, right? So he might do something like that and spends as much time as he wants, and it's actually more enjoyable. It's not an inconvenience for him. I do have to bring up.
It depends. It depends, Scott, who's in the room with me, obviously.
Well, first off, Lyman brought up being the new girl in school, and last night on Clubhouse, Sandy had brought up a story about being the new kid in school, and I can't help but wonder and question, was he the one that all the girls were being attracted to because he was new? Sandy, how did that play out?
I can answer that question in a word. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I'm kidding. Sorry, Lyman, you set me up. But
Lyman, I'm just sitting there thinking, to me, it's 100% on the customer experience. And when you're talking that, right? And by the way, I love that you keep bringing that up as we're talking about sites, because we have two great dealers here, right? And a lot of times, and they're clearly on here because they don't believe what I'm about to say, all right? But a lot of times, a dealer will think that the customer experience is only isolated to when we're talking to them either on the phone or they're in front of us, they're in our showroom or in our service department. The customer experience starts online. And if you don't have a good one, you never get to talk to them. Yep. So I love where you're going with this.
Lyman,
Go ahead.
let's talk a little bit.
I'm interrupting and hogging this. Go.
I want Lyman to talk about one thing specifically, and then I want to go to Eric and Flores. And so, Lyman, when we talked, when you and I had gone through your platform, and you said how important it was where buttons and calls to action landed on that mobile screen, as opposed to where they landed when it was built with the computer screen to the mobile piece. Talk a little bit about that, and then let's talk to Eric and Flores in terms of how that's impacted the traffic and the leads that they've been able to generate.
Yeah, I love talking about buttons because in the automotive, dealerships are obsessed with buttons. I think it's actually pretty hilarious. And Flores could attest to that because I met Flores actually from being at a 20 group, and I was doing a presentation about the UX UI best practices. And the first thing I said is dealerships, get rid of all your buttons on your website. Flores was like, oh, but it's not just about getting rid of the buttons. It's really thinking about the sequence of thought. You know, the heuristic formula, like when somebody comes to your dealership website, what is the sequence of thought? Like what questions are they asking? And the goal of the website is to be able to anticipate those questions and answer those questions. So it's really, every page needs to have a purpose. Every page, from a UX UI best practices, every page needs to have a purpose. So when somebody comes to a dealership website, they want to know, do you have a car I want? Can I afford this car? And how do I buy this car? And so it's okay to put the buttons, but you have to make sure you're thinking about the sequence of thought, what page they're in, where they are in the customer journey, and when to put the right message to the right consumer at the right time. And so, like, actually, Flores, maybe you could talk about it, but before he actually switched to our platform, after that 20 group meeting, he's like, okay, Lyman, I removed all the buttons. But I'm like, but still, you forgot a bunch of other user experiences. So he was anxious to get going while we were building his website. But Flores, you want to talk about your buttons?
Yeah.
Whoa, Flores, keep it clean. Keep it clean. I'm telling you right now.
No. She went pretty hard at it when we spoke with buttons. But car guys, we're very inefficient in general. The car business is not an efficient business compared to others, right? If you compare ourselves to, the Amazon of the world or anything, we're very inefficient and we're dinosaurs. We're stuck in our ways and we don't like to change. And to her point, once I made the switch, and I can only speak from my perspective and what I've experienced with her so far. Before the switch to 3-2-1 ignition, I was getting about 30 to 35 website leads a month. Now, I was getting the same amount of traffic that I'm getting to my website that I'm getting now, but I was getting about 30 leads, so conversions into forms, about 30 to 35 leads a month. Month to date, right now, I'm at 154 since I switched to Lyman. So, evidently, whatever she's talking about, the user experience, especially on the mobile side, has changed everything because now the consumers, and 85% or 80% of my traffic is mobile traffic. It is so easy for them to access, and the call to actions are so simple that they feel comfortable doing it. So our leads now, my second, which is my number 2 lead provider now, is my website, which is the way it should be. And she's also my best lead sales now. Like she's becoming my best lead sales with my website. So there's definitely a huge difference. Customer experience makes a world of difference. Like she said, and plus I believe in virtual retailing. And if it's hard for the consumer to get to it, they just don't go there. So whatever I was working on, I was actually, everything I was doing on my website was counterintuitive to what I was trying to accomplish. And Lyman facilitated the transition here, and we can see the difference. We had a record month last month, and we paced another record month this month, and mostly due to my own traffic, my website traffic. I don't need a third-party referral as much as I used to anymore.
Yeah,
that's such a critical piece, Lyman. I'm sorry to jump in, but Lyman, you let's talk about that because you and I discussed that when we spoke about taking away the reliance on third-party lead providers and creating organic traffic.
And I'm gonna add to that because before Lyman, and Lyman and I spoke of it, and God knows Lyman is all about data, and so am I. So we have these Zoom parties, here and there about data and the data that she likes to share. But I've slashed my Auto Trader budget by 90% from February to March, and my sales went up 75% month over month. So it's very telling, that as long as you nurture your website traffic is where it should come from. And you gotta have, we're so focused on our website, on our showroom. Who cares about our showroom? I mean, it's still important, but Vroom of the world and Carvana has shown us that the showroom is pretty irrelevant. It's not irrelevant, but it can be irrelevant to consumers now. So your virtual showroom's gotta be your new showroom. And the data shows it. Rolling 6 months, my walk-ins have dropped, I think, about 60%, which you would have told a dealer that 2-3 years ago. It's panic mode. But my internet leads have gone up 200%. So the consumer's behavior has changed. So we have to align with the way they want to buy a car, not the way we want to sell them a car. And that's what the problem is with dealers. We stuck on how we want to sell it, not how the customer wants to buy it.
So Alex and Forks, let me just say this. And I don't want people out there to get upset at me. But you guys you brought up buttons, all right? And so what you guys are saying, I believe in 100%. You want to know how you make money? And I can say this because J&L doesn't create anything like this, so I don't have a problem saying it. You know how you make money on a dealer very easily if you're a vendor? All you've got to do is create a widget with a few different buttons, and every month the dealer goes in and they look at their Google Analytics and says, oh, this button got 15 clicks. This one got a few form fills here. This one, well, we can't get, and you know, by the way, you charge only a few $100s for that widget, so the dealer doesn't feel much pain, and it's every single month, and you woke up 1,000 of the dealers doing that, and because the dealer's always afraid to get rid of the button, thinking, oh, I might get rid of a button that clicked 20 times or 10 times, and all this stuff. They add it all up, and they say, well, that's 50 button clicks. That could be this many leads. Instead of thinking about the confusion all those buttons create, and by simplifying and clarifying the message, how much more the increase comes by subtraction.
Correct.
Is that a fair assessment of the current state of auto dealers?
I mean, Scott's right on. The first thing I actually noticed, and actually when I was helping my friend, she was constantly getting calls from third-party vendors who were trying to sell her widgets. And like widgets, like for example, a pop-up. I'm like, first of all, why isn't your website provider giving you a pop-up? Can you imagine if I worked at Microsoft and somebody came to my office and said, Lyman, pay me $500 for a pop-up per month? I would have laughed them out of the building. I would have escorted them out with the security next to them. I'm like, that is the craziest shit I've ever heard in my life. I'm like, why isn't your website provider doing that?
Yeah.
Scott, by the way, you've been duly warned. She'll have you escorted out of the building if you ask any questions like that.
But the best analogy, Scott, to what you're saying is I was having this conversation with another dealer because he was asking me about my website, Lyman. And I was telling him, the best analogy I had was, it's like going to a restaurant. What's the best experience? You go to the diner that has 10 pages worth of food and you can't make your mind up? Or you go to the nice, high-end restaurant, it's one page, 3 appetizers, 3 entrees, 3 desserts. You only have 9 choices, but you enjoy the entire experience and you made a better choice and a lot quicker.
I love that analogy.
I love it too, mainly because Sandy's wife takes him to a lot of really nice restaurants, and sometimes though they go go more casual and they're not that nice. But he always has a menu with only 3 options. It just took him yesterday to figure it out. Mary keeps giving him the kids menu.
Señor Barbosa, ayúdame por favor. Help me, my man.
No comment on that.
She takes me to restaurants where all I have to do is point at the picture of what I want and grunt.
Way to do it.
So Eric, talk a little bit about what the platform has meant for you guys at your store. Where are you seeing the results, and tell me how much different it's been in terms of what you were doing previously with the mobile platform.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a little how I got to 321 Ignition and Lyman is our social media presence. We're in a town of 4,000 people, so we didn't have a lot of traffic. Store wasn't doing well. Then we purchased these stores in January of 19, actually. Mm-hmm. They've been here for many years. Again, in the middle, what I say is nowhere, coming from Houston and Dallas. And we weren't spending money. Our leads per month were 300 between the 3 stores. And then we got on our social game. And then those leads went to 2,000. And, just to give you, in 2018, we had 3,000 followers, 56,000 followers. We're up to 156,000 followers. Our reach, went from none to 52 million last year. And our engagement was 8 million. And the whole time we couldn't convert, we're having good leads, but the conversion wasn't good. And I don't know how I came across Lyman, and I was thinking we need something that's easier for the consumer, because we go after an audience where I don't use third-party lead generators anymore. I don't use.
Good for you.
Yeah, I think we have Auto Trader, and it's because it's a corporate thing. Because if it was up to me, I'd do away with all of it and generate our own traffic. But after you generate that traffic, what's their experience? And when I talked to her and saw her passion over it, she had the product we needed, because we have this audience on social that's all organic. So if you heard the numbers I said, and I tell you it's organic, to convert that to what it's doing now, where we're having over 4,000 leads, and our increase, we have 40,000 users just on Henson brand site. And that went up to 47,000 the last 5 months since we've signed up with her. And the conversion of leads took us from 150 unit store to last month we did over 300 units. It's easier, so they can literally.
Eric, say that again, because that is staggering. In a town of 4,000 people, you're doing how many units a month right now?
We did 305 last month. Yeah.
Outstanding.
That's awesome. Yeah. You know, one of the things that we talk about buttons and the importance of mobile, every one of these sites is responsive, but there's a difference with what you guys are talking about, because when you start with mobile and work your way backwards, the buttons are in the right place. In other words, what's the easiest place for me to put my thumb? Right? It's right here. Well, you guys can't see it. So it's right here. And
that wasn't your thumb. What the heck are you doing?
So I'm sitting here thinking to myself, when I go through responsive sites, the buttons don't always show. Sometimes the call to actions aren't even on the, you don't even see it right away. You don't know what you're doing. You've got to scroll. So you increase bounces and all this other stuff, right? So I'm thinking like that, but I got to go back to the social media, Eric, and that is, I want to know, first off, if you're using a company to help you grow that, go ahead and plug them real quick. So who you grew that audience like that? So, all right. So tell us real quick, so we don't get too far off track here. Tell us real quick how you did that, because that's impressive numbers.
Engagement. 5 years ago, we decided to give away a car to a person in need. And that took off, and then we had millions of viral videos that went with millions of views, and that's how that started. And after that, we started really capitalizing on the engagement. And to tell you why it's so important, like she said, that platform that we use to be successful, which is social media completely. And we have a production room, we have a team, we track it, we have a whole thing internal. We don't use any agencies. It's because 85% of our audience or consumer that goes to our website is mobile. So they have to have a mobile experience when they're engaging with us.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're using. So.
Outstanding. I want to nickname Lyman. She's now Khaleesi. She's like the dragon.
Yes, that's a good nickname.
Right?
That's a good nickname. That's an awesome nickname for her.
It's what I do, SJ. It's what I do.
That is you. That's your MO.
Well, one thing that Lyman should talk about, as one thing that Lyman should talk about, which is what we deal with as dealers, is you have a lot of website providers that really lie about what they're offering as services. And I think that's where Lyman is so refreshing to meet her, because she's not messed up with the car guys, and she comes with really fresh perspective. And she's very objective in what she offers, and she's doing it the complete opposite ways, right? When you speak to these advertising companies, it's all about clicks, and we're all here talking of conversions, which for some reason at some point it changed, where we went from worrying about conversions and forms, and we started worrying about clicks and VDPs. I don't know when it changed, but it changed. Some guys got together and said, you know what? Forget leads. We just want clicks now. I don't know when it happened, but it must have happened a couple of years back.
Right.
And to add to it, a lot of them will say that they are mobile first, which Lyman and I went through. They would tell you on the phone to dealers, because they know we don't know any better. We're mobile first, and then you get the pit bull on the phone, which is Lyman, and they back out. So, we got to be super careful. We're also dealing with a lot of companies in our industry that really don't do a good job of advising us properly and guiding us in doing the right things. And it doesn't help us.
Well, it's funny. Whether you're working B2B or B2C in this world, if your ultimate goal is not to help the client make the best decisions possible and serve those needs primarily first and all the time, then you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, very true.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and when Flores talks about getting wrong information from other companies, I blame it on the lack of training. Like the employees who are giving this information to dealerships, they're not trained in properly, so they're just repeating whatever they're being told, and they don't know the difference.
Correct.
And so, I always try to educate people. I give out so much free information, so much free consulting. I'm like, man, I should be charging for all of this consulting right now, but nope,
No,
shouldn't be.
you know better, Lyman. You know better than that, because it's what has driven your success to this
Very
point.
true.
I think outside of the fact that you've got something special,
Yeah.
but you're not running the meter on folks constantly. You're looking to make a positive impact on their business. The money will come.
Yeah, and that's actually truly one of my passions. I happen to be right now in automotive, but over the years, a lot of small businesses have come to me, like whether it's a hair salon owner or a dentist or a lawyer, and they would always come to me and ask me for marketing advice. But the challenge is marketing is complicated. And marketing is getting more and more complicated every single year with all the technology. Like let's just take SEO, for example. There's technical SEO, there's on-page SEO, there's off-page SEO. Like anybody who doesn't do marketing for a living, how are they supposed to keep up with any of that stuff? They can't. And so the challenge is with any small businesses, you can't afford to hire a full-time marketing team, because it's not just, one person. There's
Right.
copywriters, there's designers, there's developers, there's scrum masters, there's project managers, there's so many layers of marketing that it's hard for small businesses to be able to actually, really afford true marketing. And so I've always, secretly always thought about, like, how do I build a company that actually could help small businesses? And dealerships are small businesses, even though, they're running huge operations. But at a dealership world, like Eric, how many marketing people do you have at your group? I know you're a bigger group, but how many people do you?
I mean, we have Courtney and Kara and a production guy, but really, marketing is just Courtney.
Yeah. So how can one person really know everything about marketing? It's not possible.
Yeah.
Or like Flores, how many marketers do you have at your dealership?
0.
Yeah. So imagine that's the problem. What happens is when you work with small businesses, the vendors prey on small businesses because they don't have anybody there who actually knows, who could spud bullshit and say, actually, no, this is not true. And so one of the things that I'm passionate about is being the advocate for small business owners or being advocates for dealerships. Is like, let me help you guys, save money. Let me help you protect yourself from fraud and a bunch of other stuff that I've uncovered. So it's truly one of my passions. I love marketing. I'm a total marketing nerd. I could talk about marketing all day long and geek out on it.
Well, I love what you just said, and I love your passion and commitment to being truthful and transparent with the dealer body. Because Scott, we were just on a Clubhouse call, I believe yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. We were talking about a particular vendor that's got just an inordinate amount of control on the space, and it's with the blessing of the manufacturers, and that's part of the problem. And so staying true to the client base and not getting drunk with the prospect of working with the manufacturers because they're the big swingers on the block. The dealers are the ones that get lost in the shuffle, to Eric and Forrest's point.
Well, the challenge and speaking from an agency that has manufacturer relationships and not with all, but a lot of them, the challenge is that some vendors are selected strictly on size because of pre-existing relationships. So if there's a vendor out there that has a third of the market, and in order to get co-op, you have to go through a third party, a vendor that has to certify and put you on the list. I'm not going to name any names here.
You don't have to. So good.
I'll try to gently walk through this so I don't cut off my own nose here. So sometimes that person's brought on simply because the vendors have to pay a percentage back to that third-party provider. And if the person's already got a few thousand stores on their list, that third-party provider instantly makes a lot of money just by putting them on the list.
Yeah.
That is what we call a flawed system.
Correct.
But it's a vicious circle because I also believe, OEMs, they tie a lot of co-op money into use that provider is certified or you lose some money, right? But what does that tell you about the OEMs and how they feel about their dealer body? It could also be a lack of trust when it comes to their dealer body for them to feel comfortable. Hey, you got it. Use who you want to use. You're representing us or the brand, and you got it. And they probably don't trust that most of the dealer body, aside from the larger groups, have what it takes to really do what's required to represent their brand. And so I think that's what the issue is between the two. And then that it's a vicious circle, right? It never ends because most dealers are not savvy. They don't even know what Google Analytics is. They don't know how to log in. So how an OEM will have a conversation with a dealer that doesn't even understand how Google Analytics function?
It's even harder, Flores, when the OEM contact doesn't even know it.
So we have a good question. Jamil's normally on the show, but he was with a client, so he's now typing. He must be observing in the background. So
I want to know his LinkedIn profile shot is like it's a combination of Austin Powers, Zoolander, and Scott Joseph.
Oh, I'm not even going to go there. But all right, so he goes, I think there's a misunderstanding of what SEO is. Dealers ask us all the time, do you know a good SEO company? So, Lyman, I guess this is for you. What is your best recommendation to improve SEO where most dealers overlook?
Yeah, so that's actually a really, really, really great question because this is where I actually see a lot of fraud is happening in automotive, where a lot of SEO agencies take advantage of dealerships all the time. And the thing to know about SEO, there's 3 parts to SEO. Technical SEO, which is how your website is coded, built to make it easy for Google bots to crawl and render through your website, to basically find the content. Because even if you have a great website, but if it's not coded the proper way to make it easy for Google bot, the machines, to find it, because Google has a budget. It has a crawling budget and it has a rendering budget. So if your website is very hard to actually crawl and render, your website will never rank organically. So the first part is technical SEO. It's the most important part of SEO. Nothing else matters unless the technical SEO is properly set up. Technical SEO is a website provider's responsibility. Nobody else could do it because in order to be able to improve a technical SEO, you have to have access to the backend. So any company who contacts you and says, we're going to be helping you with technical SEO, they're lying. There's no way for them to do it unless they're the ones who's actually building your website. So the second part of SEO, it's on-page SEO. That's all about the content. It's all about, and there's 2 types of content. There's dynamic, which is your inventory, and it's constantly changing on a daily basis. You buy cars, you sell cars, it comes in and out. Dynamic inventory is hard for ranking because let's say, for example, you have a Ford F-150 for, let's say, I don't know, for $30,000. You have it today, tomorrow you sold. Google didn't even get a chance to actually render the website and start indexing. And so as soon as you start indexing, now that page went away and, now it doesn't help you with your SEO. So the most important part of on-page SEO is content, the evergreen content, like the research articles, what's the difference between Ford F-150 versus Chevrolet Silverado, like just an example, or, how to qualify for a car loan with bad credit, things like that, like the content that doesn't go away. For that, you need actually somebody to be sitting there and constantly writing content. The challenge is what I see is dealerships oftentimes will get calls from vendors, from SEO vendors, who would tell them like, pay us $2,000 and we'll help you rank organically for 20 keywords. That's not how SEO works. You can't just say, I'm going to help you rank organically for those 20 keywords. Because when you're writing articles and content, you use synonyms, you use a bunch of other stuff. But the most important issue that I see that happens all the time, I actually have dealerships who've been taking advantage like that. When those SEO agencies, when they tell you, okay, we're going to help you rank organically for those 20 keywords, dealerships are calling me up. One of them called me up and he's like, Lyman, this agency keeps sending me a report showing me that my ranking is increasing, but I'm not seeing increase in traffic. Why is that? And I'm like, let me do the audit for you. So I, of course, did my research and stuff like that. The keywords he was paying them to rank for had almost no search volume. Nobody's searching for those keywords. So, of course, it's easy to rank for keywords that actually have no search volume. You have no competition. And so the challenge with SEO is that it's not just about what keywords you want to rank for. It's you have to think about, is there a demand? Are people actually even using those keywords to search for? So, and this is where I get really, angry for my dealers, for my customers, where they're being taken advantage of. Because unless you know SEO, how would you know that? He's like, and I had this already 3 dealerships who would call me and send me reports. Like one guy, for example, he had an agency in Canada doing his SEO. He was paying them $10,000 per month. Can you imagine $10,000 per month for like 7 months? And they were writing him 50 blog posts. I'm like, first of all, why are they writing 50 blog posts? Because now, Google, it's all about keyword density. So when you're writing content, it's not good enough just to write a blog with 300 words. It's all about, how many words does your article have? And it should be at least, what I'm seeing in average is 1,200 words per article. So if you're writing a bunch of content that only has like 300 words, 500 words, that's not going to help you at all. So this poor dealership was paying this agency in Canada $10,000 per month to get 50 blog posts per month. And then this agency sends them an email saying, hey, Adam, check this out. You're now ranking organically for Ford F-150 Seattle lineup. And they sent him a screenshot of Google search results that shows he's ranking number 1. And they circled how in Google shows out of millions of search pages, you're ranking number 1. So Adam forwards it to me and he's like, Lyman, what do you think? Is this good? I'm like, well, it's great you're ranking number 1, but what's the search volume? I went and looked it up. There was 0 search volume for that specific keywords.
Wow.
So you wonder, does this agency not know what they're doing, or are they just scamming him? Clearly they know what they're doing. They're an SEO agency. And so, but again, because this dealership, even though they're a Ford dealership, they're a big dealership and everything, they don't have an in-house marketing. So they hire this agency, they trust this agency, and this vendor is like a prey on, on the poor. And it just makes me so mad when I see those things. And this happens all the time in automotive.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, and the third part of SEO, which I didn't mention, is off-page SEO, which is all about backlinks. Like what other websites are linking back to your website. The more other websites link back to your website, it tells Google you're an authority on a certain topic. So if somebody's searching for an answer and you have an answer article written about it, and you have a bunch of links linking to you, then it tells Google that you're an authority and they'll rank your website organically. But the off-page SEO is the least important. The most important is technical. Second is on-page, and the third one is off-page SEO.
So Lyman, describe a little bit in terms of how you're working with both Floris and Eric right now to help them maximize their SEO performance.
Well, so I'm actually not doing on-page SEO for them. We're doing only the technical SEO because we power their website.
Piece. Okay. So can I switch the question then? So Eric, what are you guys doing with your on-page content to drive your SEO results? Do you have somebody dedicated to that internally in-house or in the group?
For that we do use an agency for the SEO.
Okay.
And I've gone through 10, and again, I'm not SEO is not my language.
Okay.
The language I'm
4-letter word.
Yeah, and everybody says, well, it's search engine optimization, but they don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
When she spoke, I'm taking notes.
Me too.
Yeah, you got to be educated on that stuff, and then after what I normally do, I don't know what the other gentleman does is I look at the analytics after 6 months, and then I dig into it and see what worked and what didn't, and if they were actually doing what they said they were supposed to be doing. And it's all in the data. I mean, if you're paying attention to the data, you'll see the increases. I've already switched 2 different companies because I didn't see it. I haven't spent the time I need to as a partner here to dig into SEO to speak intelligently on it. It's not my thing.
Right. I appreciate the honesty, and so you're doing what I think a lot of dealers are doing, according to Lyman, is you're relying on an agency to provide that content for you. And so I took a bunch of notes as well, so I can share that with my dealer clients to pay attention to it, because it's a blind spot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Floris, you have the same experience by you?
So I currently don't have an agency, and Lyman and myself, we speak on this all the time. It is one of my projects for this quarter is to really have on-page SEO the way it should be, because there's no better traffic than organic traffic when you want to sell more cars. There just isn't. So it's time consuming, it's annoying, I think to do, and it takes a while to really be effective. It's not something you can do today and then next week you can feel the effect of it. So I think, we car guys, we live on a 30-day basis. So sometimes we have a hard time seeing things beyond 30 days. So my focus now is, Lyman and myself, I spoke on it, will be on-page SEO with content, and she's been a great guidance on that. So I have a few things in the pipeline. Her and I spoke of hiring somebody to type some content for me on my page, weekly, that will type, because I guess Google now wants 1,500 keywords, I guess, to even consider it. It's what it sounds like now. They just change everything about that. So someone that can write a blog every week for 1,500 keywords or more. So I actually have on the look, I've already reached out to somebody to be that person, remotely and just do that for me. But that's not, like I said, that game is a long game. It's not something you're not going to see the return on that for a while, for months. So even if you can take a small amount at a time, it'll be great.
It can take, a lot of people say it take up to a year for inbound and SEO stuff to really take hold. But the question you have to ask yourself, a year from now, are you going to sit there and say it takes too long and you'd already have been done? So at some point you got to start and just bite that bullet, right?
Exactly.
Well, that's
Plus, money will send you a year from now. Like I said, third party is, I'm not going to say it's the enemy, but they're really, we're the easiest prey on the planet. Dealer body. We're the easiest prey. We swear we're really good at what we do, but vendors love us. I mean, they absolutely love us. So, we're not good at planning in the future. And this is one thing that you have to do, get better at SEO so you don't have to pay the car gurus or the auto trader or the Edmonds of the world. You can cut back just like Eric said.
So I wear both hats. I wear a dealer hat and the vendor hat. All right. I'm going to tell you, in my all vendor meetings, they don't like you. They bitch about you guys the same way you bitch about them.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Listen,
there's only one or two that's paying the other. There's only one or two that's paying the other. So,
I'm joking.
Flores, you make a great point. And so dealers have an opportunity to make decisions with the checkbook, and that's how you get the attention of the vendors ultimately. And I think, Eric, you said it before, like we're all here getting smarter and better at what we do so we can make better decisions about our business and the steps that we take, and finding better, I hate the word vendor, finding better strategic partners that have a commitment to your success, all right, so that they can make things better, not just for you, but for your clients as well. People like Lyman, people like Scott and his team at J&L, partnering with better agencies and better providers is the solution. And then, as you said before, Eric, educating yourself so that you can make those decisions more effectively. I applaud you guys because you recognize it.
Well, here's a question for you guys. One of the things I've been thinking about is automotive is the only industry that I'm aware of where a GM is in charge of sales and marketing. Any other industry, there's a VP of sales, there's a CRO in charge of sales, and then there's another person in charge of marketing. How can one person know everything about sales and be really good at marketing? Is that even realistically possible?
I don't know how I do it, Lyman, but it takes a lot of work. I invest a lot of time, in the off hours. No, I'm just kidding.
You don't sleep. You don't go out on dates with your wife.
I'm kidding. No, I agree with you 100%. It becomes a function of budget in many organizations, as you know. The bigger organizations, the ones that are keenly aware of it, do make the investment. That doesn't mean that they always make the best hiring decision, right? But they do make the investment, and it's the smaller single to smaller regional dealer groups that have a hard time justifying the expense. But I got to be honest with you, when you look at the return on that investment, I think it's a no-brainer in terms of the decision being made.
Most dealers focus their attention more on their sales than they do their marketing. And what I mean, that doesn't mean they ignore marketing. I'm not saying that at all, because they clearly, it's one industry that has very big marketing budgets. What I'm saying is their time, their effort, their expertise is more on the sales and the sales process. You think about a dealer, wow, how do I improve this BDC process? How do I improve that customer experience when that lead comes online, or when they're in the showroom? How am I improving my delivery process, my F&I They're thinking they're much better at that than the marketing. But I think, Lyman, you said it best early on. Marketing, this isn't like it was 20 years ago where we got to put a full page ad in the newspaper, spend $35,000 for the day if you're in a metro market, and throw 4 or 5 starburst on it with an interest rate in one, a discount in another. All right. It has gotten very complicated, and it is impossible for a dealer or anybody within the dealership, unless you've got a dedicated person to sit there and understand. Because here's the other thing. I change something on my paid search or any other of my paid medias, what impact does it have over here? When I make a change to my web, there's so many things that kind of overlap.
Yeah.
Right? You make one change, it has an unintentional consequence over here. They don't have the capacity. I'm not saying the intelligence. They don't have the time to deal with all that stuff. And their natural ability, because most of them came up through sales, their natural ability is more on the front end sales side.
But here's what I would like to say to that, Scott, is you still got to educate yourself, like Eric said, because we forget, and I'm no longer a franchise, I'm independent, but even on the franchise side, most franchise dealers are single points. We worry about the AutoNation of the world and all the big groups, but the majority of franchise owners are single or dual points. So they still considered small businesses. And we are focusing on sales, but one thing you can't do is sacrifice the importance for the urgent, right? It's urgent to sell the car, but it's super important that you know your marketing as a small business. You can't just overlook it because it makes you feel uncomfortable. And Lyman will tell you, I would text and call Lyman at any time of the day and night, and she knows when I have questions and I'm reading, I'm Googling, and I'm asking her questions because it's so important. On the long run, it will save me money. Plus, when she speaks that language to me, I can understand a little better. So, it's very important for us to educate ourselves.
I'm glad you said that because I never finished I completely forgot the whole reason I brought all that up. All right. The biggest organizations, they don't focus on their sales team as much as their marketing. The most successful businesses view marketing as their main driver. All right. They understand that they have to work backwards, though. Start with sales, start with the customer to sales to marketing in order to be successful. But big organizations, they know that their job is to make it as easy as possible on that sales team and drive quality traffic, educated quality traffic. And what I mean by educated is you've done a lot of the legwork for sales, or you've educated the customer to want to hear and push them further down that funnel. Is that, Lyman, you've worked in much bigger organizations than anybody on this stage. Is that accurate?
100%. I mean, I follow a lot of social media groups on Facebook, with the dealerships leaving comments and stuff like that. I often see dealerships or salespeople leave comments saying, Carvana has the same type of a car as we do, and they're selling it for a lot more, but we lost the deal to Carvana. Or, sorry, not Carvana, CarMax. Dealerships always tell me every time CarMax moves into the neighborhood, their sales go down. CarMax is not the cheapest provider. They never claim to be, but what they're claiming, all of their advertisements, all based on experience. And so if marketing, it's not just, marketing is not just the email campaign. Marketing is not just the, Facebook campaign. Marketing is the whole experience. It's a customer experience. It's like what I said from the beginning. Customer experience is a sustainable competitive advantage. Nothing else is sustainable. You can't be the price leader. You can't be always the most innovative product. The only competitive advantage is the actual experience.
I gotta tell you, I've learned this the hard way with our own agency. So we're a marketing company, J&L, right? That's what we do. But all our marketing focus is about helping dealers market. Right? Helping our clients market. In all reality, if you take away our product, we're a sales organization because everything we focused on was sales. Get more dealers, get more clients. We didn't know how to market ourselves. So it was harder. We created a much harder process to grow our business because we were so sales focused and product focused. So we relied on dealer word of mouth referral type stuff. That was our best marketing play because we couldn't market ourselves to save our lives. We're horrible. I mean, in other words, we can market for others, but man, for us, we struggle.
Isn't that interesting?
Go ahead.
Sorry, I just think it's fascinating. Like we're often, we're good for marketing for other people, but we always forget about ourselves. Like, my company, like you asking me, but if my team is like, we have like 50 something employees, and everybody in my team is focused on the product, focused on the dealerships. I've totally neglected my own marketing, our own company marketing. Like, we do no marketing. It's crazy.
I wanted to say this as an operator. I'm involved in all our marketing for all the stores. I'm the general manager, the operator. I have a general manager for the 3 stores, but I see him and I deal with all the marketing. Everything goes through this office. It's a 24/7 job, and if you don't understand that, don't mess with it. It takes answering, engaging, especially now. If you really see good dealers, they understand that, and then they also have good. What you said was partnerships. Whatever vendors we have, they're either partners or they're not. That's it. Lyman's a partner, and she provides us with the stuff that we need to grow our business, so that it's one less thing I have to think about for me. And she provides that with that mobile first website. But any operator out there, I will tell the ones that aren't doing it or aren't knowing their marketing, I think their lifespan is a lot shorter than they think, because the new group, this new generation of operators and GMs, they're out on social media. They're out with marketing. They understand it. They're engaging with their clients. They're out there on the showroom floor. You got to step your game up, because it's going by like this. And if you ain't changing what you're doing yesterday, tomorrow, you're done.
Yeah, you're spot on there.
Couldn't say it better. And it's got to trickle down to our employees, car guys, to your point, Eric. Now I'm incentivizing one of my guys, was my top guy, to be on Instagram and promote himself. Yeah. So he started spending his own money, $10 a day, to promote his own post every time he delivers a car. Yeah. He started that 5 days ago. He went from having 200 followers to 1,000 in less than a week.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
That's spectacular. What's his name? What's his name?
His name is E. He's on Big E. That's his name on Instagram. And that's all he does. He posts. And now he's blasting it. He spends $10 a day, literally. And he's a guy that just sold 34 cars last month. $10 a day. He's sold 3 cars of mine that have not even hit ground yet, because people are reaching out to him and saying, "Do you have this?" "Yes, I do." "As soon as it hits ground, let me know. We're buying it." And it's amazing. He has no time to himself now. It's only been 5 days. He tripled his followers.
And you know what? All you got to do to pay for that is skip lunch. And then at the same time, you're probably getting a little bit better shape. So,
but so worth it, because now he's doing it. The others are seeing it. And I have 2-3 more salespeople asking, okay, we want to do the same. Now they're taking videos, they're taking pictures of their cars when they're here to promote them. And it's like $5-10 a day. And they're getting sales. And I don't really pay for that. I mean, really,
here's
even
the
if
lesson.
I was paying for it, it's so minimal versus what I'm paying my third-party referrals.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Well, listen, I applaud his courage, because the source of the hunger from the other selling professionals in your organization comes from the inspiration of the person that took the leap of faith and had the courage to go put the money behind. Yeah, I love it.
Let me give you a little hint before y'all are. Lyman, you showed me a link. You showed our marketing team a link on how to track where that lead came from. Do you remember showing Courtney?
The UTM parameters?
Yes, we do that on everything now. And it's funny, we have 20 salespeople here. The requirement is to do 10 social media posts per day. I don't pay for it. It's a requirement of them to brand themselves. And they each, for the most part, put that link, because that goes straight back to the website. And it's free.
Well, so Scott, actually, the guys don't know what you were talking about, because we're actually the only website provider who does this. So our website platform actually not only will it track UTM parameters, of course, in Google Analytics, everybody does that. But in addition to, when somebody goes to a dealership website with UTM parameters in the URL, and then when they become a lead, we pass the UTM parameters to the dealership CRM. So dealerships now actually in their CRM not only see how many leads came from their website, but what was the traffic that drove that visitor to the website, and how many of those leads became a sale, what was the gross profit, and everything else. I don't know why other website providers are not doing this, but this is the level of transparency I wanted to give to dealerships, so that way they actually could hold their vendors accountable.
That's why right there. You just said it, Lyman.
Yeah.
That's why they don't want to tell them. You kidding?
Yeah, I guess.
And that's not the only thing. She's being very humble about this, but it's not the only thing she's transparent on. I'm just going to tell you, she's been, and I know she's saying UTM codes, and, if we have some operators and dealers looking at it, they're like, what does that even mean? But it's got to be super important. Now, when the leads come into my CRM, I see where the customer came from to begin with before submitting the form. So now you can allocate your advertising budget, if you have one, to make sure that your dollars go further than what you had before. So that's number one. Number two, where our transparency is really the best, is most of our agencies, and she's being super humble about this, but most of our agencies, we pay them to then, for them, pay Google for pay-per-click, right, for example. And Lyman's company doesn't do that. You pay Google directly. So you know exactly what you're paying. There's no funky commissions. You don't, because you have a spending budget. You don't know how much is commission. So you don't really know how much out of your budget has been spent on ads. And Lyman just doesn't operate that way, which is completely different and refreshing.
I believe in full transparency with everything. I mean, that's even how my company operates. Like if you go to our website, 321ignition.com, we actually publish our prices on the website. You can even subscribe to our service without even talking to a salesperson. We have Apple Pay and everything. The model that I use is like, imagine if somebody wanted to buy a Microsoft product. They don't have to talk to a salesperson. They could just buy it online. It's just super easy. It's just frictionless. Like everything is transparent. Like I believe in 100% transparency. And so everything that I done for dealerships, I wanted to make sure that we practice what we preach. So our company operates exactly the same way. But thanks, Lars.
Yeah.
Hold on here. I was writing something down. I'm just a student here. I'm taking notes.
That's what Lyman does. She makes everybody write that. She did that to the 20 group meeting. It was humbling.
It's funny because I use a hashtag when I do sales skill development workshops and seminars called hashtag WTSD. I think I shared that with you, Lyman, maybe last time we spoke.
I think so, yeah.
Write that shit down. If it's worth remembering, write that shit down.
It's going on a shirt now.
That's it. I already got a trademark and copywritten, baby. That's a fact.
Love it.
All right. Listen, we're coming up on about 4:08 here. And so I want to wrap by thanking Lyman and Flores and Eric for taking the time and sharing your insight and being transparent. I mean, that's going to be my word of the day. My word of the week is transparency. I appreciate you guys sharing with us today. It was awesome. Tremendous takeaways. I've got 3 pages of notes off of what you guys have shared with us.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Scott, for having us. Thanks for inviting us to be on the show.
Awesome.
Thank you.
You guys are so
any closing thoughts, SJ?
No, I just want to thank Flores and Eric and Lyman. I thought it was a great show, very informative. I love when we challenge people's think, challenge that. And I think that does that because, we're an industry that is in the things that are most important. We're an industry that seems to gravitate. I don't think, not by any of us, but the industry as a whole tends to gravitate to 2 or 3 big players a lot. And quite honestly, it's hard to differentiate yourself when you're just everyone's the same on the website. Everyone's the same in their marketing. Everyone's the same. And that doesn't differentiate any of us. And so the key when you're trying to strike back against being marginalized or commoditized, differentiation is the key. Your customer experience is the easiest way to differentiate yourself. And so I really appreciated this show. So for all those reasons.
Well, I'm going to take all the credit, Scott, because I recommended that we bring Lyman and these guys on. So I'm taking all the credit on that. Lyman, you know that the nickname Khaleesi is going to stick. You are the mother of all dragons, baby, as it relates to anything with respect to mobile platform and mobile first websites and SEO. So I really appreciate you sharing the insights and peeling the curtain back for us today.
Thanks, Andy. I actually, I'm Russian. English is my second language, so I have no idea what Khaleesi is, but I saw Marissa was like raving about it. So
well, and by the way, we should thank Marissa because Marissa Haddad is the one that actually had reached out to me in the first place, and we connected, and then she put the 2 of us together. So she deserves a big shout out and a thank you. She's awesome. She's got such a winning personality, and so I want to thank her for putting all this together. If not for her, we're not all sitting here right now.
Yeah.
Lyman, you've heard of Muhammad Ali, right?
Yes.
Okay. So one time there was an interview with Howard Cosell. It's a famous interview where Howard Cosell said some word that Muhammad Ali didn't know what he meant either, or know what the word meant. He goes, I don't know what that word means, but if it's good, I'm that.
Amen. Amen. All right. Well, listen, it's time to step up to stand out, and we're going to tune out. Scott, close it up, baby.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We will be back in 2 weeks, 3 o'clock every other Thursday, or the first Thursday and the third Thursday of every month. D-Win, I want to thank Lyman, Eric, Flores, and the solutionist himself, hailing out of the great state of New Jersey, Sandy Cerami. We'll see you soon.
All right, guys.
All right. And hold on, everybody. Wait.
Oh.
I almost forgot. We got to play our one thing that we've got coming up, and you guys are getting invited. We've got what's about to show is our fourth box video. It's an event we're doing in June 22nd through the 24th. It is a true mastermind, but it's going to be, the name is changing to Business, Bourbon, and Cigars. So if you like business, you don't have to be good at all three, but you have to be good at least 2 out of the 3. All right. So you either have to love cigars and business, or love cigars and bourbon. If you love both bourbon and cigars, we don't even care if you're good at business.
That's how I got in the first place.
All right. So, but any combination of those 2 of those 3, but this video gives us a little feel for what it's like that we're like the last event, and this event's going to be even bigger. So
SJ, let's go quickly. Don't bury the lead. Don't bury the lead. June 22nd, coming up. It's June 22nd. Go to dealershipwin.com and click on experiences to get more details.
Yeah. So we'll play that real quick. And if you guys want to hang out, then we'll end the broadcast, but we can hang out and talk a little bit afterwards if that's all right. So here we go.
Roll it, baby.
We landed in a bourbon fairy tale. If you're not here right now, there's only 2 questions. Why not, and what are you doing to get here?
Yeah.